In Part 1 and Part 2 of our series, we heard Commissioner Patrick Hayes distinctly tell voters that he would vote against the extreme water park. In this part, Part 3, listen to Commissioner Hayes' lengthy explanation of how he will vote regarding this important issue.
Well, I'd like to start off by acknowledging Mr. Lawton and Ms. Von Bono. I think our staff has done an extraordinary and outstanding job on this. Whenever this board is tasked with making a policy decision that changes our comprehensive plan, I expect nothing but a denial from staff, because I review staff's opinion as interpreting what our comprehensive plan says. And clearly, from one point, and that to me it may be the overriding point, that this is not possible without addressing our comprehensive plan. I did personally, but I respect staff's perspective on it, disagree with one of their interpretations, and that was that this did not qualify because of things having changed. I would agree with the applicant that this property has changed significantly, but all being that the case, it's still outside the urban service boundary as we experience it. However, however, the applicant's request is not to change the urban service boundary. So let me start off with my conclusions. Our comprehensive plan is not about growth and no growth. It's about smart growth, appropriate growth, and an urban and rural boundary. If I thought for 1 minute that this was going to change our urban service boundary, I would not be in support of this project. If I thought for 1 minute that this would fall to a challenge and not be supported in the courts, I would not be supporting this proposal. I turned down one of my most desiresome projects because I didn't think it had come forward in the proper manner and it would have been turned down in the courts. I think this has been brought forward in an appropriate and respectful and legal manner, and I think it does not stand, or I should say, I think it will stand any challenges. If I thought for 1 minute that this project represented a precedent-setting event, I would not be in support of this project. I think I've been very clear on things that this committee, which I'd support and which I would not support. If I thought for 1 minute that this were to give a toehold or a foothold or any expansion to DRIs or other major things which this board has turned down, I'd not be supporting this project. I certainly think it's an insult to call this project a gateway drug. If this particular developer were asking to build an office building or a medical complex requiring a lot of traffic and buildings that are not appropriate, like tire factories, I would not be in support of this project. And if I thought this would change in any way at all, of any significance, the flavor and spirit of Hope Sound, I would not be in support of this project. But where this project goes is an arrow that says Hope Sound 6 miles. And I am confident that this is not going to change Hope Sound. And if I thought that this project in any way would harm, destroy, or negatively influence our 30-year-old comprehensive plan, I would not be in support of this project. Having said that, I'm glad that Mr. Fielding has mentioned one of my favorite words. It's called distinction. And if the people in this room cannot draw a distinction between a proposal such as Atlantic Ridge and Canopus, which would add less than 200 homes on 7,000 acres and not change one iota of the rural character of Martin County, or a program or a plan like Colusa Creek that was 4,000 acres, where there was a dedication of 3,000 acres and 3,000 acres of Atlantic Ridge and 1,000 acres of Colusa. That's 5,000 acres dedicated to Martin County hydrology, wetlands, preservation for a mere 200 or 300 homes. And you can't make the distinction between that and the 5 major DRIs in southern St. Lucie County, which want to put 50,000 homes and several million square feet of office space? If I thought there was any bare comparison, I would not be in support of this project. But there's not. There's a clear distinction. There's a clear distinction of rural Martin County. If I thought this project was going to have any effect on rural Martin County, I would not be in support of this project. As it's been demonstrated today, this project is, this property is quite unique. It was literally created specifically and addressed specifically in our comprehensive plan as far as the standalone urban service area of this project was considered. So from my perspective, and what I've been trying to sense my constituents, is what is appropriate for the section which is not part of the urban service boundary, part of the standalone urban service area. And I was very excited when I first heard about this project that it would be a destination area, that it would be something that would be incredibly Martin County, very unique, very boutique, a very sought-after attraction. Everything that Martin County is, everything that Martin County stands for. But it can only happen on this property and perhaps the one immediately to the south of it that has the same cutting off of because of these 2 major roads. And again, if somebody wants to come sue the county to build us a park on that southern piece, it would be kind of ridiculous. But if somebody wants to put a tire factory on that southern piece, and they think for 1 minute the precedent of allowing an extreme water park with 40 or 50 people a day is their precedent, good luck. I'd also like to address the fact that I've had several town meetings on many issues. I have one every, or 2, sometimes 3 every year. And at the last town meeting, which was about 2 months ago, this was a very hot topic, a very hot issue. And at the time, I told the people in that room what I tell almost everybody. You elected me to be your representative, and I am committed to representing you. And at the time of this meeting 2 months ago, there was about 70-to-1 emails and phone calls coming into my office not to support this project. And I told that group that then, and it was recorded by young Miss O'Connell, that I would not support this project if it continued to have that kind of negative, extreme negative, or even negative response by the balance of my constituents. And I was asked 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times, and I said the same thing, and I always ended it with, I will not support this project if those situations are the same. And I was badgered to such a degree that I finally said I will not support this project. So if you want to watch somebody play a tape about Commissioner Hayes going back on his words, you can look at the piece of that tape that said, I will not support this project, and ignore the 20 minutes of explanation of why I came to that conclusion, based on the support that the project had then. My aide has been pointing out that in recent days, the project is still running roughly 3 opposed to 1 against. Excuse me, 3 against to 1 for in our emails and some of our phone conversations. But you know, some of you know I like to books a lot. I like to listen a lot. And I was recently listening to a book on the Bush family dynasty, where Bush Sr. quoted a gentleman named Edmund Burr. And boy, did what he say resonated with me. He said, your representatives owe you not only his industry, his intellect, but his judgment. And he betrays you as opposed to serves you if he does not, or if he replaces your opinion with his judgment. I've been sitting up here for 3.5 years, and I've been trying my best to represent my constituents. I don't represent the people who scream the loudest, or the most frequent, or the largest developer because he owns 4,000 acres of land, or a citizen who's been here for 30 years and has more prominence than the man next door. I'm committed to representing the balance and the silent, if I can say it that way, in some cases, middle ground of Martin County. And what disturbs me the most is that I feel the weight of the negative opinion is based soundly on misinformation, disinformation, and directly, intentionally misleading facts. And that really disturbs me, because our comprehensive plan isn't worth a damn if our community doesn't have integrity.
The floor is still yours, sir.
Thank you.
I have about an hour and a half worth of comments
In
myself.
conclusion, I'll go back to where I started. If I thought this project was going to change our urban service boundary, enroll more development or DRIs, or be the camel's nose under the tent, if I thought it would change Hope Sound at all, in any way, shape, or form, in a negative way, I happen to think it's going to be just the opposite if I thought it would have any effect in those areas, I would not be supporting this project. But I'm proud to say I will second Commissioner Smith's motion